Hey everyone, we are out here in Pasadena looking at this beautiful oak tree right here, and we're going to talk about the thought process that leads us to know where we're going to install cables on a tree once we've decided that that tree needs cables. First, let's look at an easy tree right, where is it? You can't really see it right. Oh, here, this camphor tree is what I call a traditional codom. It's just two trunks, going left and right. This is super duper easy. You can look in the textbook and that tells us to put the cable like right around here. A little higher would be better if that's an option. We should be going somewhere around 2/3 of the way from the union right here to the top of the tree, which is way the heck up there. But on this one, the branches curve outward, so I think it'd end up going right around here. But this tree is a lot different. So let's get the camera flipped around and take a closer look. All right, so let's get this out of the way first. The tree has experienced some pretty aggressive canopy reduction in the past. That's what you're seeing as stubs up around the top. And then it has either died back since then or was already dying back. That part I don't know because that was before we stepped onto the scene. But let's look at the overall kind of format of this tree. It's what I call a codom. In a standard codominant limb, you have one trunk that splits into two codominant stems. And here, each codominant stem also splits into codominant stems. So in an ideal codom, the stems would be growing up at similar angles, and then we would just do two cables, one that would go from here across that way, and then one from this cable here away from us in a big X pattern, or if the situation warranted it, with a hub in the middle, and then four cables coming out from that hub. So that's the normal situation. But this tree, we have one big upright stem here that goes, it's the highest one on the whole tree. And then we have a small stem that's coming towards the camera that does need to be supported because that has some cement in it. We'll show you. We also have this huge horizontal limb going out to the left. It's got a lot of weight at the top and it really branches out. So that one needs a lot of support. And then we've got this other one here that goes away from the camera. That one will get one cable for sure. Let's get a closer look at the union and then we'll talk about where we're gonna put these cables. Okay, so this is showing the tomogram. It's the readout from the sonic tomography testing that was done on this oak tree. It shows up at the top left that it was done 50 centimeters or about 20 inches from ground level. And this is a cross-section representation of the inside of the tree. Starting at the top and working your way left and wrapping around over to sensor number 5 is showing structurally sound wood. It might not technically be living wood, but it's structurally sound. And they put, in this case, 16 sensors around the tree, and over by sensors 2, 3, and 4, that's where it's picking up the sound waves are traveling more slowly through the tree, and it's indicating that the wood in that red section and the orange and yellow sections are less structurally sound than that green section. Now here we are at 25 centimeters. The exact same type of test is done. We're only 10 inches above ground level, and you see more red, or maybe about the same red, but almost all of the green has been changed to yellow and orange, indicating that lower down on the tree there is far less structurally sound wood, and this is a good tree to support. So this is steering us towards putting some support posts in the tree, but it also just tells us that that internal section of the tree does have a lot of decay, and that it is a tree that we need to kind of consider as a little suspect and something that is going to rely on supplemental support. So when we're looking at a codom, that doesn't mean that it needs to be cabled, you know, just because it's codominant. And this is a really good example. This is a really wide U-shaped union right here. And I don't question the structural integrity of that union right there. That all looks good. And so in and of itself, I would say that we don't need to cable it, but we've got some other strength loss issues in this whole area. For example, right here, you can see some cement was poured in. There was a massive cut decades ago. We know we have decay coming down lower. So even though that little stem isn't really big enough to warrant being cabled, we know that the attachment point is weak. So we do need to give some support to that limb. This guy is really big, and the two of them together are connected to an area that we know has some internal strength loss issues. And then the same over here. This union in and of itself is good, but they're connected to an area where we have strength loss issues. So our cable here isn't because the tree is codominant, it's because the whole system comes together at this kind of a central hub area. In a way, in an area where it isn't as strong as we would like. So the basic layout, to refresh you, is that's our big vertical upright limb right there, and it does go way up there, and this guy goes out and over. This is the biggest one that we're worried about here. Let's look at the existing cable system. And I should say cable systems, plural, because when you look up there, you have two central hubs. Both of them, looks like one is 1/4 inch diameter cable and the other is 3/8 inch diameter. If you can identify what's going on here, this is what is referred to as a hand splice. All right, so here's a close-up view of that central hub. These are hand wrap splices, and they did fine, you know, they look good. And this isn't a bad technique, but it tells us that the materials they used are common grade cable, which isn't strong enough, and that's why this one broke right here. So even if the layout of these systems were good, we would still recommend replacing them with EHS cable, which is extra high strength cable. So here's what we're gonna do. This big vertical limb, this is on the north side. This guy right here, that's the biggest limb in the tree, and it goes the most upright. Let me jump over here. We're gonna call that our anchor limb. And we're gonna go with, let's see, I think we can get out of wide angle mode here. We're gonna go with 3 or maybe 4 cables in this tree, but 3 of them are gonna come off of the anchor limb. We will have a small cable coming down to the small limb here, probably 1/4 inch cable, and then another one from the anchor limb going away from the camera to that little guy right there. That one might be 3/8 inch. And then we're gonna do one big 3/8 inch cable that goes all the way across to this side over here. And I mentioned we are going to do 3 or maybe 4. We might put a second cable from here to the back limb over there. Even though this one isn't going up, we'd like to have that cable coming from a downward angle. But I think we can get a little bit of sideways support to reduce how much this limb is moving back and forth, because if this finally breaks, it's going to break from one of 2 reasons, and one is weight pushing down on it, and then one is from it moving laterally back and forth and then breaking sideways and then falling down. So I think that second cable, you could almost think of it as a guy wire that's just restricting the movement on this tree. And then the first cable is the one that's helping to lift some of the load and reduce the leverage down on the main trunk unit. So that is the basic gist of how we will take care of this tree. We are talking with the adjacent property owner to consider maybe putting a support post on this one long horizontal limb to help give it some weight, some strength from the bottom. And frankly, I think that would be better here because the layout of the tree, the orientation of the branches isn't perfect. But If you watched all of this and you're a certified arborist, you should get a CEU for this. And if you have questions, put them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.